Friday, and it's often repeated. Good Friday, czyli Wielki Piątek, tak? So Beckett was born on Good Friday. I'm going to show you some faces now, okay? Just one face, but it's really worth keeping in mind, okay? So this is Samuel Beckett. He photographed really well, right? This is perhaps one of the most famous photographs. It's on some of the covers. I couldn't stop myself, okay? There are plenty of photographs of his face, so here's another, okay? He was very tall and very thin, okay? It was his typical feature. He's as you can see, not really, looks a bit grumpy, perhaps, yeah? And this is what people do with his face, with his figure. And here's perhaps something that I really liked. It's a wall painting, okay? And you can see the doors and windows, right? Okay, so now you've been acquainted with his face. Here are some biographical facts. He was born in Ireland, okay, in Foxrock, and he at the university at Trinity College in Dublin. He read languages. He read French, Italian, and English, okay, which he later on used. He really liked Dante, for example. He was influenced by a lot of French authors. And when it comes to Irish, an Irish author, he was under big influence of James Joyce. Has anyone heard about James Joyce?
Yes.
Ulysses, Finnegan's Wake. Have you heard about Finnegan's Wake?
Yes.
What do you know about?
It's been recently published, I think.
In Polish. It was translated a year ago. Yeah. That's right. Do you know anything else?
Well, I know that the Ulysses is the most popular one, but
the most readable one.
Yeah, right.
One of the most readable. So I mean, it's one of the most toughest read in the world. But in fact, he had two periods of his writing. The first one was realistic. That's right. And for the artist young man, and also belongs to the second stage. And Finnegan's Wake, right? This is probably the most unreadable text ever, because it's written not in one language. It's not written in English. It's probably written in 100 languages. Okay, so you've got words that may mean something in Polish even, and something else in Czech. Okay, but this is Joyce. Okay, Joyce was Irish as well. Beckett was under huge influence of Joyce. Okay, he was his. Joyce lived in Paris at the time. Okay, he was an older writer than Beckett, and Beckett became his secretary. Okay, well, Beckett moved to Paris. He lived there until his death. Okay, he taught at École Normale Supérieure. He was an English teacher, okay, and he became James Joyce's secretary, okay. So as you imagine, a young author, okay, from Ireland, under an influence of another Irish big influential figure, what can you do if you want to create something new? Any ideas? What can you do? You want to become, you want to find your own voice. You give up, you stop writing in English because you can't develop anymore. You feel that was Beckett's idea, that you need to find, he needed to find his own way of writing. And since he knew other languages, he decided to write in French, okay? So he wrote in English and in French. Very often he published some texts in French and then he translated them into English, all the other way around, okay? And his idea, the new style, is very Beckettian, because
he wanted to write without style. Okay? Tell me what it means. What does it mean to write without style?
Without his own style or without...
Without any probably style.
Oh.
That's right. That's right. This is the proper reaction. It's not possible, and as I said, it's typical Beckett. Okay, he made fun of some conventions of his readers, of his audience. Okay, so this writing without style, assuming his new voice. Okay, this was a way for him to perhaps just escape Ireland, escape English language, escape other authors, okay, to create something new. Right, so when we talk about Beckett, here are some labels that we can attach to him, okay? He was a modernist writer. He's considered to be one of the perhaps later modernists, okay? It means experimenting a lot with language, right? Avant-garde, yes, he was in the avant-garde. He created something fresh and de-automatized, okay? Theatre of the absurd, this is a label devised by Martin Eslin, who wrote an essay in 1961 to describe theatrical pieces, performances, plays, that were written around 1950s and later, okay? And Beckett was probably at the forefront of such ideas. Theatre of the absurd. We can't talk about conventional theatre, you know, which relies on plot, action, characters. This is all gone, okay? Everything, it's also connected with existentialism and Albert Camus. And this philosophical, the philosophical ideas of the time. You can't explain things, okay, in life, in the world. It's all mesmerizing, okay. It's all an absurd, perhaps noise, okay. Have you read or seen Waiting for Godot? Perhaps you know. Yes, so this is a classic example of the theatre of the absurd. Could you just, in a few words, tell us what it involves?
There are two people who are waiting for Godot. We don't know exactly who is it.
Yes.
But they are waiting, and we can see the lack of sense if they're waiting.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening, right? We don't know who these two, perhaps we can say vagabonds, yes, because they are dressed in a shabby way, right? And their dialogues make no sense whatsoever. They don't communicate, you know. They talk, but it doesn't make sense, right? And they wait for Godot. They wait for nothing, yes. And one of the reviewers of the play said, because it's a two-act play, okay? So one of the first reviewers said that nothing happens twice, okay? Because it's actually, if you know it, you know that the action isn't pushed forward, right? There aren't any events. Nothing happens twice. Okay, so we've got the theatre of the absurd, minimalism, okay? Very pared down language, okay? Beckett is known, maybe, or probably, thanks to the fact that he moved onto a different language, yes? Moved to French. He could see these minimal entities of language, okay? And he could look at them closely and, you know, just throw away all the things that were unnecessary. Right? And black comedy. Many performers forget. Beckett is funny, okay? He's gloomy, right? Because some of the subjects or many of his characters are just miserable, right? But he's also really funny, okay? So remember about that, okay? Now, in 1969, he received the Nobel Prize, and this is the explanation for his writing, which in new forms for the novel and drama, in the destitution of modern man acquires its elevation. Beckett was a very private man, so he didn't even go to receive the award, and he gave all the money away. We'll see some of his texts now. We'll have a look at some of his works. Horoscope, okay, that was his first. Yes, the pun is intended, right? He was pretty vulgar at some some moments, but it shows you the capacity of language. It shows you that we shouldn't be stressed and bigoted, right? We should use language as we want. Then he wrote an essay on Proust, okay? And this is an early phase. He was only, what, 25 then, right? He was trying to find his own way of writing, right? Then I'm skipping a lot of texts, okay? Just to show you the most important ones. So, En attendant Godot was first written in French, and then he translated it into Waiting for Godot, okay? And it's 1952, 1953. Then, apart from theatrical pieces, plays, he also wrote prose, okay? Novels, even. You can call them novels. Although they are actually governed by the same lack of logic, okay, as his theatrical pieces. So one of the most famous, perhaps, prose texts is this trilogy. First written in French, okay, Molloy, Malon meurt or Malon dies, he translated by Beckett, and L'Innommable or the Unnameable, okay. The 1950s was a very prolific time for Beckett, right? He found his voice, he knew what to write, and he was very prolific. Fin de partie, first written in French, and then Endgame, translated into Endgame. In Polish it's called Końcówka, okay? It will be important for Crack, because Crack's last tape was first performed as a beginning, okay, perhaps, or a little play for Endgame. Commencer is another prose text, or how it is, and it involves a man crawling in mud throughout the whole book and narrating, and it's a very circular narration. Beckett is when it comes to his style, it's very cyclical, circular, okay? There are a lot of repetitions. There are a lot of, as well, a lot of mathematical permutations, okay? And Anthony Libera can show you very well how to count, how numbers and how mathematics is really important for Beckett, okay? And I skipped a lot of text, just to show you that this is the last text. He died in 1989, at the end of the year, and Stirring Still is his last prose text. Stirrings Still, if you pronounce it, if you say it aloud, you see another feature of Beckett's style, which is the insistence on phonology, on sound, okay? Stirring still, okay? If you want to know more, because I only gave you just a couple of texts and titles, this is a great source. The Nobel Prize has a wonderful website, and they show you which texts were written originally in English, which texts were written in French, which were translated from French to English or from English to French. And you will see there's a huge list, okay? He was very active, he was very private, okay? He didn't take part in the public life as such. but he wrote a lot. And at the same time, there is this, when you read Beckett's letters, there is this constant dissatisfaction with himself. Okay, he feels when he writes that he is not doing enough. All right. So maybe you can recognize yourselves. Yeah. And now just a few words about Crap's last tape. And again, the pun in the title is intended. Okay, the Crap appeared the name with one P at the end in his previous work, Eleutheria. Okay, and this was. Tell me what you know, because maybe I'll be repeating the facts. What do you know about Crap's last tape? Come on.
It's a non-drama and it's not that there's no action.
It's a one-act play, right? Okay.
Playing or recording. Listening to this old tape. Okay. So there's one person, one man on the stage, right? And he's not even talking. It's not his. I mean, we hear his voice, but it's not coming from him, right?
It's from the tapes, because he was recording somehow messages from the future. I mean,
Yes. Or for the future.
yeah, for the future. It was a portrait of him to listen to in
That's
the
right.
next years.
Well, the question is, what do normal people do for on her birthdays? They probably have parties, or they have candles, cakes, right? Not Beckett. I'm sorry, we shouldn't do that. Crap recorded his thoughts and feelings, okay, every year, right? And then, how old is he when he listens to this? This is, we don't know. 69. It's his 69th birthday, okay? And he's listening to his voice when he was 39, for example, right? Okay, just to come back to some basic facts. It was first written in English, okay, and then translated into French by Beckett and Pierre Lévy. He sometimes used help, okay? Most of his works were translated by him, okay, but sometimes, like here, he was helped by other people, French people. So La Dernière Monde, it's the French title. It's a one-act play, and it was written especially for one actor, Patrick McGee. He was Irish, and Beckett was fascinated when he heard his voice. Okay, I will perhaps play a bit, one bit. So this is Patrick McGee, right? And they met in 1957, and Beckett he recorded something for Beckett, some other texts, okay? And Beckett was just enchanted with his strange voice. So he wrote this piece for Patrick McGee, and then after some time it was recorded by the BBC, okay? So maybe it's a good idea to play it now. Do we have any loudspeakers?
Beckett had heard McGee's unique, cracked voice on the radio, and he wrote the part of Crap especially for him. The play opened at the Royal Court Theatre in 1958. McGee's definitive performance was recorded for the BBC in 1972 by the original stage director, Donald McQueen.
time before we actually hear his voice, okay? Because he goes around doing other things. But let's wait. Just look at Patrick McGee. To hear his voice, because I would have to bring it forward. That's probably
good to be back in my den in my old rags. I've just eaten, I regret to say, 3 bananas, and though it's difficult, you refrain from a food. Taking things from that mind. Count them all. The new line of my table is a great improvement. Of all this darkness around me, I feel less alone. In a way. I love to get up and move about, and that here too. Me. Right.
Right. So this was someone who inspired Beckett, okay, to write this particular piece. And I'll just move back to what we were saying about the play. Because, okay, as I said, Endgame or Fin de Partie, right? It was so short that it could be played as a curtain raiser at first. And Beckett wrote at the time that it was one of his favorite pieces, actually, because as you see, a nicely sad and sentimental work. This is how he described it. A play about what she felt as an old hen with her last chick. Okay. And also, when he compared it to other very popular plays like Waiting for Godot or Endgame, he said about Cracked Last Tape, it will be like the little heart of an artichoke served before the tribes with excrement of ham and clove. These are characters from Endgame. People will say, good gracious, there is blood circulating in the old man's veins after all. One would never have believed it. He must be getting old. Okay? So he was fond of this play, as you can see, and as I said, it's 69th birthday, Crack's 69th birthday. He feels that it's the end. Beckett was, what, about 40, in his 40s, right, when he wrote this play. So it's odd, it's strange that he had this feeling of his life coming to an end at the time. But he feels, Crack feels, there will be no birthdays, okay? So he plays his tapes, he goes through this ritual of getting out the tapes, the old theatres you saw, McGee, right? And listening to his own voice, to his impressions once again, okay? Sometimes, and it's also a very Beckettian feature, he doesn't recognize himself, okay? He listens to the tapes, but he feels he's a stranger to himself, okay? So the voice that comes from the tape recorder is someone else's, okay? So he listens scared, appalled, frightened, okay? And he learns again, he's reminded about his failures over and over again, right? Tapes are repetitive, you can play them again. He does this, he has this ritual. And so he discovers that even if he has said so much, he has nothing to say, okay? And soon, all will be silence. Okay, so you saw a bit of Patrick McGee as Crack. There's another name that needs to be mentioned, and this is Harold Pinter. Okay, Harold Pinter also because he was influenced by Beckett, and also because in 2005 he received the Nobel Prize for Literature, and because in 2006 he made this performance produced by a Royal Court Theatre, okay, of Crack. But since you saw a bit, perhaps we can skip that. You know what Harold Pinter looks like, yeah. Another Beckettian actor is John Hurt, okay. He featured in Beckett on Film that was produced in 2001, and in 2011 he performed in the States. He performed as Crack. Okay, so here's a photograph. And
Przepraszam, to macie właśnie na pendrive, ten cały film.
Beckett on Film? Okay. And that is all. Make sense who may, I switch off. This is actually a passage from the last play that Beckett wrote in 1983, okay, called What Where, okay. So as you can see, this tape recording or switching off is quite a marked feature. And perhaps since you like theatre and like culture, can I say a bit about there is a festival organised every year in May in Sopot. This year it's from the 19th from the 13th to the 19th of May, and there are theatrical workshops. There are theatrical performances, there are meetings with authors. For example, Anthony Libera. This year we're still working on the program, but it's just to give you an idea what to look for in online. This is okay, and I'll just I won't talk in detail. I won't give you the names. Just go online and see what has happened for the last couple of years and what are the plans for this year. Okay, and can we say 10 minutes now for questions, maybe for some discussion, some impressions? If you look at McGee, right, from the 70s, and you watched Pinter, and then you saw John Hurt, who do you think is the most fitting crap?
Well, supposedly it should be Patrick McGee because the play was written for him.
Okay, but can we say that he's the only person who can perform it? He died in 1980, I think. Can a girl be crap and play her last tape? Or is it a manly play?
Why not? I mean, it looks like a play about getting old and losing something, so practically anyone can do that.
Yeah, because it's an experience that everyone shares, right? It's a very universal experience. Beckett, even though he seems very hermetic, okay, he was actually saying very important things about our common shared experience, right? Like the impossibility to communicate, you know, the impossibility to get through to other people. The two characters from Waiting for Godot or from Endgame, very often there are tandem actors or tandem characters, okay? Just to show you that we need other people, but at the same time it's so difficult to get through to other people, okay? That we want to be understood, right? But sometimes it's just impossible. Of course, I'm saying it and it sounds banal. Beckett was saying it and he received the Nobel Prize, okay?
It was something that influenced Pinter, wasn't it?
That's right.
That's what Pinter.
And Pinter, because he's considered as one of the theatre of the absurd representatives. His plays, The Birthday Party, for example, show some elements, or The Dumbwaiter, the same elements. And I've got an interview, I can send it to you, that Pinter gave towards the end of his life, when he was really, really old. And he talks about Beckett and how he considered him, how he looked up to him and his works. Okay. What else? What are your impressions in general on Beckett? Is it something? Is it an author you would read for breakfast? Why not?
He's kind of a tough author, talking about very difficult problems, and for the morning, it's not really good. Maybe in the evening.
In the evening, okay. Just to get depressed before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
But remember, I've already said that, but remember, there is gloom, there is darkness in Beckett, but there is also humor, okay? And some of his characters are meant to be funny. There are clown-like characters, okay? That's why in Waiting for Godot, Estragon is wearing, what's the name of the other? Didi and Gogo, okay? They call each other, I'm sorry, I've just... Vladimir exactly. They wear bowler hats, okay? Bowler hats. And if you read the beginning of Crab Flask tape, there's also quite striking reference to, you know, clowns. Rusty black narrow trousers, too short for him. I mean, who wears short trousers if they want to be, you know, if they want to appear as serious people, right? If we want to. I'm just looking at the length of my trousers. Okay. Rusty black sleeveless waistcoat, 4 capacious pockets, heavy silver watch, grimy white shirt open at the back, and surprising pair of dirty white boots, size 10 at least, very narrow and pointed. Okay? So you've got this, the appearance is slightly off. It's not something that, you know, serious people wear. So we can laugh. Yes, we can, you know, think about how miserable people's life is, but also we can make fun of it. Hmm? So what about crap? Just tell me a bit more about your impressions. Things that you've managed to read. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that the most interesting thing there is the problem of communication with oneself, not with others, but you know, the problem that someone is not really able to understand his own actions, his own words.
Absolutely, yes.
So that we are kind of, you know, not that. We're not one person, we are a range of people.
Yeah. Beckett's characters don't understand themselves, so how can they understand the other people, right? There is a lot about the lack of connection between your mind and your body in Beckett. Okay, so that's why the bodies are clown-like, because they don't listen. You know, they live their own life. You can't connect. You can't understand yourself. Okay, you can't understand your body. Crab has problems with his digestion. Right? Things are not working well. Right? That was a very good comment. So lack of understanding, lack of communication, right? Also solitude. Okay, it's a common feature in Beckett's works. For example, you've got this prose text, company. Okay, and a man is lying in the dark. It's very much like Crab, actually. A man is lying in the dark. Okay, and there's no company. Okay, and he's as if thinking about he's working over his life, he's remembering, reminiscing. Okay, and he's alone and lying, you know, as if already prepared to die. Oh yeah, it all sounds very grim, right? But I'm really asking you to see the comedy in Beckett, okay? To see how funny he can get. Okay, if you don't have any other questions, that's all from me. Thank you.